Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today I just finished watching a video and I wanted to do a response to it. Kind of a commentary on a commentary almost, nothing bad or anything. It's from JGod, and he posted a video saying the real reason players want easier lobbies in Call of Duty. It's a good video, you guys should go check it out. I'll put a link to it down there in the description. And in there, he kind of goes over the entire history of skill-based matchmaking in COD and ways that fans have tried to get around skill-based matchmaking, because wanting easier lobbies, according to JGod, and I think it's true, is kind of a core part of Call of Duty's history. I mean, fans want to reach the highs of going on nuke kill streaks and getting chopper gunners and AC-130s, and facing easier players is a shortcut to achieving those goals. It makes sense, but it sort of frames COD players as these babies who just want everything handed to them. He goes on to talk about how, you know, there's other gaming communities out there, like there's so many games, and all of them have skill-based matchmaking, yet COD fans complain the most. And I don't think that JGod was implying that, you know, COD fans are babies, but again, if all games have skill-based matchmaking and we're the ones whining about it, it kind of paints our community in sort of a bad light. So I'm here to say that yes, Call of Duty fans do want easier lobbies, and by easier, I just mean lobbies that aren't specifically designed to hinder you, right? When Call of Duty was initially blowing up and taking the entire gaming world by storm, if you know, you know. If you were around back when COD was first blowing up, I'm talking like COD 4, MW2, Black Ops, like, it was crazy. And skill-based matchmaking did exist back then, but it basically did nothing. It would try to protect new players, brand new accounts, essentially. And I can remember many instances where I or somebody in my friend group would just start up a brand new account. We weren't doing it to reverse boost or anything. We would do this for a number of reasons. Maybe we wanted a new gamer tag. Maybe we just wanted to restart and see how good our stats could be, or re-unlock all of our old camos, or maybe we just got a free 2 weeks of Xbox Live included with a new game that we got. But either way, when somebody in our group had a new account, even back in Call of Duty 4 and World at War, if that person was the host, then the lobbies that we would join would be full of low-level players. Because of this, we know that some form of skill-based matchmaking did exist back in the day. There's been lots of conflicting stories in regards to that, but my own personal, like, anecdotal experience, it was around back in the day, but it wasn't something that was ever really discussed or thought about because it really didn't do anything. Call of Duty's matchmaking was actually good back then. When you joined a match in any of the golden era CODs, it was just based on your connection, pretty much. I mean, it wasn't uncommon to see several people throughout a session who had your area code as their clan tag, and you got a real sense for how you were doing as a player in those lobbies. With everybody joining the game with connection being the only real factor, you got to see the entire spectrum of the COD community. You had horrible players, you had incredible players, and you had everything in between. And when a game sets up its matchmaking in this way, the player base gets a very consistently inconsistent experience, which is what I personally crave when I'm playing an online game. With everybody in the lobby just being thrown in there with connection in mind, some matches you have bad teammates, some matches you have great teammates, and the same was true of the other team. Matches had variety, gameplay was varied, and every match was dynamic and unique, and you saw how you would perform in all these different scenarios. And when you made that transition from being someone who was consistently at the bottom of the list to somebody who's now topping the charts, you know you did something great. And it's not because of an algorithm developed by some lizard men at Activision that you did well in your match. You went out there and did that shit. You did it on your own. You didn't need to wonder if your incredible match was a gift from the engagement gods. You just did well because you made good decisions and you were the best player in the lobby that consisted of your randomly selected peers. When games have variety and matches are based on your connection, you actually get a much more accurate representation of how good you are at the game. When you see yourself improving, and to JGod's point, putting up those big kill streaks, it felt incredible. Now, however, with skill-based matchmaking, you don't see that same improvement. You don't get those highs or even those lows that came with Call of Duty's old matchmaking system. Instead, you get a streamlined system where every match almost feels the same, which results in a feeling of apathy. At least for me personally, and I'm sure it's true for many of you out there as well. You get relegated to your skill bracket, and every match pretty much feels like the one before it. The other team will always be good. They will be sweaty, they will be jump shotting around corners, but still, they're going to have one, maybe two people on their team that kind of hold them back, and the same is going to be true of your team. Basically, the top 3 or 4 people on both teams decide the outcome of the game. Blowout scores are incredibly rare. Most matches are close in terms of score, and it's also rare for somebody to put up insane numbers because everybody in the lobby is of a pretty equal skill level. Obviously, humans are fallible, circumstances vary, but in general, crazy scores are not something that you really see consistently anymore. It's kind of similar to the scores you see when you watch pro players playing the tournament. For example, if somebody went, say, I don't know, 35-22 in a game of domination in that scenario, that's a pretty good score for a scenario like that. But the same is now true of public matches where everyone is going roughly even. The idea is to get everyone's stats as close to 1 as possible. The days of going 50-3 because you played well, got lucky with your kill streaks, and because you weren't playing against a full party of Twitch streamers are mostly behind us. Occasionally matches like that will slip through the cracks, but they are quickly adjusted with Activision's matchmaking system to almost punish you for doing too good. You compare all of that to what it was like back in the day, and I think it's pretty clear why people want quote-unquote easier lobbies in COD. It's because back in the day, COD was fun. It was simple, it was relaxing, it was a core part of a lot of our development as teenagers and as young adults. It's a franchise that we love, and the games were so enjoyable because the better we got, the better we performed. We didn't have an artificial feeling when we did well in the game. What we felt was a true, uncontaminated sense of accomplishment, and that feeling is what kept us playing the game more and more because we could get better and better and keep on reaping the rewards of our efforts. Call of Duty does not have that anymore, and these other communities who complain about skill-based matchmaking, don't get me wrong, but not nearly as much as the COD community does, well, they haven't been around as long as COD. The sad truth is, like, the new gen of gamer don't even really know what it's like to play a game that was not designed by literal psychologists trying to milk every last second of player retention, player engagement, and cash from the pocket of the player base. Games used to be made for fun. Of course, they made a ton of money off of it. Obviously, they are a business, but the more money a game made back in the day, likely the more fun it was. Problem is, now they're trying to take full control and monetize the fun that players have in an effort to milk them for as much as they can, and that is such a dark, dystopian way to go about things, especially when Call of Duty used to be the exact opposite of that. And COD is not the only game franchise like that. Madden is another prime example of that. I'm not going to go on this for too long, but Madden back in the day was all about just innovation, making the games as fantastic as possible, beating out the competition back when they were allowed to have competition. It was great. Then they came up with Ultimate Team, where every year they could try to milk hundreds of dollars from every person in the player base to try to pay to win themselves to the top of Ultimate Team. And then modes like Franchise, modes like My Player, modes like the normal traditional online, they all went down the gutter because they found their cash cow and that's all they care about. The same is true of Call of Duty. It used to be that the game sold because it was fun, it was engaging, it was enjoyable, and the better people were, the better they performed in the game without the matchmaking system deliberately trying to hinder them in an effort to make other people feel better. They've essentially found a way to monetize the fun that the player base has, and that is the biggest problem. Call of Duty's been around for so long that many of us remember what it was like before all this started happening, and that's why we're so vitriolically against skill-based matchmaking and why we talk about it so much, because there's still that sliver of hope that someday we're going to go back to the golden era of video games. Like, hopefully someday the skill-based matchmaking bubble is going to pop the same way loot boxes did, but I'm not sure it's ever going to happen because it's way harder for them to legislate stuff like skill-based matchmaking as compared to legislating gambling and loot boxes, supply drops, and things of that nature. Ladies and gentlemen, there you guys have it. I saw that JGod video today. Again, it's a good video. He goes over, like, it's very, like, well detailed. He obviously did, like, a ton of research. Like, he went through and, like, did the entire history basically of how people try to get around skill-based matchmaking. But I want to talk about the core reasoning for why people hate skill-based matchmaking. I mean, maybe sure, there are some just whiny people out there that just want every game to be easy for them. Whereas I think a lot of people, they just want the game to be a game again, as compared to the monetization experiment that it's become. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your thoughts and feedback down there in the comments. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.